Free Radio, and tonight that term free has a special ring to it. As always, I got to take care of business. I'm Mike Netter, accompanied by Scott Piotr and Kurt English, whose last name is now our official language of the United States. We are always
Thank you,
streaming
President
live.
Trump.
Yep, thank you very much. We had a lot more to thank him for. We'll get to that in 1 second. But first, let's take care of business, gents. We're blasting live on Twitter at Netter Mike and in Twitter communities, on LinkedIn under Mike Netter, on my Facebook page, Mike Netter, where we'll be blowing out to the Rebuild California groups. And if that is enough for you, you can find us on Outraged on our YouTube channel. But I wanted, as I've been saying for the past 3 weeks to all the groups I've been speaking in front of, share this show, move it out. We are the media now. And if you're at home watching this, email people, do whatever you can, especially because what the word free means. Let's start with an opening rant here. The opening rant, free, and the word transparency, which when Gavin Newsom uses it, means exactly the opposite, are a little bit hard to define in California. Because apparently when we, the people, vote in something, Gavin feels the right to override it. And I'm sure you've all heard about, if not, you better read up on the constitutional amendment that he's proposing to redraw the congressional seats in California simply because he doesn't like what's going on down there in Texas. The reality is this is being done behind closed doors. And as I found out earlier today and the news broke, they're going to attach congressional maps, if indeed they put this through, fairly soon in the November election, where they're expecting a lot of people not to pay attention. That means California could lose 3 to 5 congressional seats as they redraw them Democrat. But wait, there's more. In addition to a technical house of cards, often there's the question, where's Gavin even getting the $200 million to do this kind of special election since the state is actually broke? And where are the maps that the Senate is drawing behind closed doors and voting on? I believe it's a week from Monday, which they have to vote on soon. Where are these maps? What is hiding? And what really scares me is what the government does with our money. Because we don't know. And most of you out there, if you were in the Pacific Palisades and watched homes burned and wondered why government couldn't buy a pool cover for $185,000 and wondered how is it possible we went from a $90 billion surplus to a $20 billion deficit in 1 year, and wonder how the government of California loses $24 billion that they spend on homeless, and they go, we don't know where it went. And we have no accounting for it.
I'm shocked.
Yeah, we should be. And the underbelly. Go ahead.
Hey, but Mike, there's something that may happen that will throw a monkey wrench in Gavin Newsom's plans. The federal government is going to redo the census without illegal aliens.
Get there,
so those maps, if they count illegal aliens in the census, will be invalid.
There's a big house of cards. There's that. There's the fact that Trump declared he's going to do that today. Kevin Manicalio stopped the election. But I want to focus on tonight, Kurt and Scott, is frankly, no matter where we seem to plug a hole in the dike of democratic corruption, another hole springs. And part of the problem we have is that the government of California, with a $300 billion budget with a B. And I want to put that in perspective that when Gavin entered office, the budget was about $188 billion. Now, all of you out there, of course, are going, my life is a lot better since Gavin came into office. No, it's not. So, Kurt and Scott, the question is, where does our money go? Where the hell is my damn money? And that's what I'd like to focus on tonight.
Democrats have been laundering money. Look at USAID, the example you gave about the homeless money. Los Angeles can't find a lot of its money. I think that if you find it, it'll be in the pockets of Democrat politicians, their friends, their donors, and
Newsom's wife.
And Newsom's wife. And this is the funny part, though. I put out a thing today. Open Secrets, God bless them, goes after government records, open U.S. government records, chases down, puts together where a lot of this money's going, like USA. The problem in California, the books are about as open as the Italian mafia. Betty Yee certainly doesn't put. I mean, she's 2 or 3 years behind an audit. That's why I'm proud to introduce our guest tonight. And before I do, I want to drive a point home that look, many of you out there are going to vote for the office of governor one way or the other, and many of you aren't. There's only about a 7 million turnout, or a 30%, 35% top line turnout. And many of you maybe voted for Adam Schiff, and you might have to vote again because it looks like he's going to jail. We'll get that later in the show. And many of you might know what the lieutenant governor is, but follow the money. Where's my damn money that I pay in taxes? What the hell does Gavin Newsom and those Democrat cronies do with it? And so one of the most important offices that, frankly, if you work in a big company, you don't pay a lot of attention to. You go to sales, you go to operations, you go to the warehouse, but you pass accounting every day, just hoping you don't have to worry about your check clearing, and you never pay attention to the office of controller. Because generally, if you have to, if you're in any other operation but finance, it's not a good day for you. California, it's about time we started paying attention to it and got some transparency as to where is my damn money. And so let's introduce Herb Morgan, running for Controller of California, who has some really good solutions so we can track where our money goes. Herb, welcome to California Free Radio.
Mike, Scott, Kurt, thank you. It's great to be here. I love the energy.
Well, we don't even drink coffee because if I did, we'd have the show done a lot faster. I'm going to check our social media feeds right now. Herb, start off by telling our audience who you are and what is wrong with you that you want to run for a California statewide office, which literally, since I think Wild Bill Hitchcock was sheriff, a Republican hasn't won.
Hi, everybody. Yeah, I am Herb Morgan. I am an almost lifelong Californian. I had my first birthday in the backseat of a 67 Chevy as we drove across, coming through Yuma and into Southern California. I grew up started first in Orange County, Westminster, down to San Diego, up to Santa Cruz for 4 years at the UC Santa Cruz campus up there. Graduated with a degree in economics and got into finance. Spent the last 38 years working in finance on Wall Street, big name companies that you've heard of. And then in 2004, I decided to start a company like all good entrepreneurial Americans. And I started a little company and we grew it. We had some luck in the market and some success. And I got a phone call from a guy who you all know now, but his name is Howard Lutnick. He's the Secretary of Commerce, but Howard was the chairman of Cantor Fitzgerald. And so I was able to sell my business to that firm back in 2017. I still work for the firm. I'm a chief investment officer there. And I am planning to retire when the citizens of California ask me to be their state controller. I will retire from my day job.
So Herb, let's go with the premise, not much of a premise, that I'm an idiot. And for most of my audience to go, yeah, we get that. Okay. And to be blunt with you, I always thought the controller was those little things on PlayStation that made stuff move around. What exactly is the controller of California do? Do you push the buttons when Newsom talks?
Whenever you get a check from the state, it always has the controller's signature on it.
That's a good point right there. So it's interesting. We have an auditor who's not an elected position. We have a treasurer that's one of the executive electeds, and we have a controller that's one of the executive electeds. The controller specifically is the chief financial officer, the chief accounting and financial reporting officer of the state, but not just of the state's checkbooks, but of every entity that receives a penny of state money. So, as an example, the city of Palm Springs School District, the financial reporting is up to the state controller. Every county, every agency, every authority, like a high-speed rail authority, every entity that receives a grant, like an NGO, a nonprofit entity that's supposed to be helping the homeless, that accounting does report up to the state controller, and the state controller has unlimited authority to audit, to dictate the method of accounting, and to dictate the frequency of reporting. That is why this is the most consequential. And I wouldn't have run for it if it wasn't the most important office. I really think it's more consequential than the governor's race because of the authority vested in the office. It has never been used. It has been purely ceremonial. The current occupant has no background in finance. She has a background in politics. I'm sure she's good at being a politician. She went from
No, she's not, but we'll get into that in a second.
the County Board of Supervisors in San Francisco to the chief fiscal financial officer of the fourth largest economy. And it's not just the state, it's everything. Community colleges, roads, the gasoline tax funds. Where did it all go? This person's job, whether they're a Democrat, a Republican, a socialist, a communist, a libertarian, doesn't matter. The job is to show where the money went and make sure it's being lawfully spent.
Now, let me ask you a couple questions. That's straight.
Yes.
First off, are you talking? What is the current controller's name?
Malia Cohen is the current controller.
Right, Melina Cohen. Now, let me ask a couple really dumb questions, which as the show goes on, don't be shocked by them, Herb, from me. Okay. Just try to keep a straight face. All right. Isn't California by law, and I apologize to everybody out there because California government doesn't follow the law, but let's pretend. Aren't they by law supposed to issue a line-by-line reckoning, if you will, which we call the books, every year of where my damn money is?
Well, there are requirements that it's not necessarily line by line. There's a CAFR, Consolidated Annual Financial Report.
Well, I mean a general idea, not necessarily never got a check, but a pretty general idea.
Late. It's late. It's sometimes years late. It has errors. It has problems. Then several years ago, the state tried to put in a system that would put close to what I'm proposing, would make it close to happening. So they spent hundreds of millions of dollars on this thing called FisCal, like fiscal, but with a dollar sign in the S. And then the treasurer and the controller, who you would think would be working hand in hand to do their jobs, fought and fought and fought. And there was all kinds of problems. The legislature had to get involved. And I've tried to make heads or tails of this. For example, the spending categories in the FisCal system. Let's just say, if you're a small business, you've got a category for travel, payroll, right? Your different categories, right? The categories in the FisCal system are not the same as the categories that are in the governor's budget. It's like the budget doesn't even know about the FisCal system, and the FisCal system doesn't know about the budget. So they spent hundreds of millions on it, and it's of really no value.
Kind of hard to track the budget.
So, and now, go ahead, Kurt. I got a bunch. I'm actually smarter than I look. I know most of you who cares? He doesn't look that smart. But Kurt and Scott asked a few questions. I'm checking our media channel since a couple people are off tonight.
So you also sit as the chairman of the Board of Equalization. So do you have
the controller sits on 70 different over 70 different boards and commissions, including the two big pension plans, CalSTRS and CalPERS.
So do you have input into tax code then through the Board of Equalization?
Tax code is really set by the legislature, just like the spending is. And where I think the controller can advocate, use the bully pulpit, publicize, talk, educate, the legislatures. Legislatures are just regular people with regular jobs who come in, and they then oftentimes get bad advice by the career folks around the Capitol.
Can you refuse to write checks if they are not in compliance with their contracts?
What I like about Scott is you get right to the point. Yes.
Come on. Let's do it.
So there is a yes and a no. So if the legislature allocates money to something, it is the responsibility of the controller to issue that money to that something. However,
Right.
the controller has plenary authority to dictate the method of accounting that they must use and the responsibilities they must uphold if they get that money, and the level of reporting frequency and what the reporting should look like. The controller also has the authority to audit, to verify that the money was spent in accordance with the wishes of the legislature when they allocated it. However, that's not what's happening, right? It's just not.
Wait a second. I'm
Yeah.
going to fake. Oh, I'm shocked. Really?
By the way, Herb, don't
Yeah.
be surprised. We may, in the middle of the show, fake a few strokes just for audience thing there, because I don't think people really realize. And again, I want to take a step back because most of us look. Here's the reality of it, okay? And I say this quite often. Until I started the recall 5 years ago, and all this came up, I don't say I didn't care how my government worked. I didn't really want to know how the government's accounting was. I had a pretty good deal with my bank. I ran out of money. They called me. That's really all that I cared about, okay, when it came to my personal account. But it's time's gone on. And again, I want you to correct me if I'm wrong. You're the financial guy on this show tonight, okay? Didn't our budget go from like 188 billion? It's about 312 billion this year, right? And this all happened under Gavin's watch. Is that correct?
You're almost correct. The budget that was just passed a couple weeks ago is 322, and then there's additional spending that comes from different fees and other things on top of that. But yeah, we're looking at 320, call it 325 plus billion.
Okay, which is why I'm not in accounting. I'm just taking a swag at it, but roll with me for a second, okay? So it's gone up about 120 billion. What's a couple billion between friends, huh? Since Gavin took office. Fair enough?
That's correct.
Now-
But you're getting such better services, Mike.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's working out really well for me. And hold on when our power goes down. But here's actually one of my actual questions that I don't know, because many people in our movement around there, when exactly, whether it's line by line, broad categories, just generally knowing, hold on, where the beep my money went, when did the government of California actually quit reporting that? Was it about the time Gavin came into office? When exactly did this stop? Because I wasn't following this before.
You know, I don't know. I have no idea how to answer that question. I don't know when it stopped. I do know that the budget really shot up during COVID, and then it just kept going from there. And I, obviously being sarcastic, obviously, you know, when I was a kid here in the early 70s, we had #1 public school system in the country. Now I think we're 48th, but our spending per pupil just goes higher and higher. We have the most homeless, the worst homeless problem, yet we spend the most to fix the problem, and the problem doesn't improve. There's no improvement. There's no measurable improvement in outcome. Roads, we have triple the gasoline tax of the neighboring states of Arizona and Nevada, and I say Utah. I know it doesn't neighbor, but Western states. We have triple the gas tax.
That's important what you say right there. Sorry to cut you off.
Yeah,
It's my show. No, I'm kidding you. So that is actually, Utah is important because people don't realize that when Gavin does a lot of these things, like throwing oil companies out, I want to go down a quick rabbit hole. It's very important for everybody out there. That when they talk about, oh, look at the Philly folks in California, they're redoing their congressional districts. The 7 western states, again, do not have a pipeline from the east. So our economies are a lot more intertwined hey, Utah, hey, Nevada, however you say it, hey, Washington and Oregon, then you are necessarily tied to Texas. So what happens in with the California budget, how we sillily spend or not spend money and blow it does have an effect on those states. Herb, back to you.
Yeah, so we also have a requirement, it's a federal requirement and a state requirement that the budget be balanced. And about, I forget how long ago it was, 18 years ago, whenever it was that this person named Kamala Harris was the attorney general. And
No cussing on the show, Herb.
they're going through the budget process and they say, let's use the money that's in the rainy day funds and the reserve funds. Now, those are meant for when we hit an unexpected recession, when your revenue falls short of budget, you access that money to get your budget fixed. Balancing a budget by using the rainy day funds in the budgeting process under no definition would ever be considered balanced. However, our attorney general got a judge to tell her folks in her party in Sacramento that if you budget using the reserve funds, that's considered balanced. Nowhere else in the world is that a case. And that's why we're in this situation now. Gavin, this year, we are in a booming economy, lowest level of unemployment, lowest level of weekly claims, and the economy is actually accelerating right now. Why are we dipping into the reserve funds, the emergency funds, the rainy day funds? And the answer is because Kamala Harris got a judge to tell her that that was a balanced budget.
And by the way, Herb, when speaking of the subject of the day, where Kamala, let's just say Harris, okay? And I apologize to all the children that adhere to that out there. Got the judge to pass that. Remember how we got the rainy day fund to begin with?
Those voters.
Ah, yes, indeed. That's where I was going. We voted it in, and we voted it in to have money, yes, indeed, for a theoretical, metaphorical rainy day for when we needed to do it, not for Gavin to dip into. And again, when you talk about transparency, and I want to make sure we get to your solution tonight, because I find it relatively interesting normal for the business world, but very interesting for government. In effect, and again, Herb, I'm a simple man, so I got to keep this simple. We have a big wad of money in the savings account we call the rainy day fund. Herb, correct me if I'm wrong, okay? All right? We have this government that is spending more, and we don't know how they're spending. And I don't think what I know either is this big sack of money that comes from the rainy day fund. They're in effect draining it from the bottom, like stealing it dollar by dollar, because I don't know really how they take the money out of the rainy day fund. Is there something I'm missing there about that?
Well, it's supposed to be appropriated, and the legislature can appropriate it in the event of an emergency. That's what it's for. That's what we voted for.
But I mean, what do they literally spend? I know they kind of throw it in this, but we can't see how it was spent once it goes into the general fund, right? Because there's no budget.
And it goes into the general fund, and then the general fund makes allocations. But
right.
There is a tremendous amount of obfuscation. It is very
Hold on. We don't try not to use multi-syllable words in my present. What does obfuscation mean? Is that something from Russia? Is that a kind of vodka, Herb? What is that?
Let's call that misdirecting, covering up. Don't look here, don't look behind the curtain. That kind of thing. That's obfuscation. And I think that's.
I'm sorry. Let me make this simple. Sorry, I'm a street guy. In other words, they're ripping us off. You can't say it. I can say it. Okay, you're running for office
with sleight of hand bookkeeping. Yes.
Yeah. So, but the good news is, I think the solution is easier than anybody realizes. Okay. So imagine you come up and you say, "I've got a solution," and you present the solution. The first thing government operatives, bureaucrats, electeds are going to say is, "Oh, that's great, but we don't have the money to implement that. We need more staff time, more pensionable hours. We need this, we need that. It's overtime. It has to be a prevailing wage thing, and we have to pay $400 an hour and all this." And Stop. We have technology now. In fact, our illustrious governor announced today or yesterday his new committee to study the use of artificial intelligence. And I put on his little FaceTube thing. I'm with you. I can't wait to get your endorsement for my campaign, Governor, because that's what we're going to do. So I went and I got a coder kit, and we put this together. We wrote the code that reads the transactions in a bank account. So there's no work for anybody to do other than install the app, just like you could install Uber Eats on your phone. So if you get a $50 million government grant and you're a nonprofit in Los Angeles, you just install this app. It reads your bank transactions every day, and it publishes them online, and it writes them and stores that online numbers. It stores it on a blockchain. A blockchain is used because it's unhackable. It is immutable. Sorry for another big word, Mike. The blockchain ledger, where all the transactions would be stored, is virtually cost-free. You don't need any more people. In fact, it will save labor. It will save employee time, because we will then use artificial intelligence to analyze all of the spending every day of every agency, of every entity in real time. And the artificial intelligence agents don't need pensionable income. They don't need time off. They don't need sick days. They work 24/7, and they will identify spending anomalies. Think of every time we log into our social media, guys, all we see is another example of waste, of grift. I call it Gavin's grift. Waste, fraud, Gavin's grift, abuse. Now, I wake up in the morning, I pour myself a cup of coffee, and it says, we noticed in Stanislaus County yesterday, somebody bought a Louis Gucci Vuitton luggage bag for their travel and charged it to the state or to the county. Well, that would be a violation. And it would all be done via AI and then followed up with human actors. We will spend less money. And while we're on the subject, I love that. There is no amount of service or help we can't provide to our citizens. I am tired of being told Republicans don't want to help the homeless, don't want to help those in need. That is wrong. That is flat out wrong. It is the Democrats that don't want to help because they're siphoning off the money for themselves. And this plan would identify the fraud, identify the waste, and we could have, with $325 billion, we would have the best public schools, the best universities, the best prisons, the best homeless outreach, the best roads. There's nothing we can't do with that amount of money. We could have 30% more government services at 20% less cost if we just get out the grift.
And now I want to interrupt for 1 second here. Kurt, I want to test Kurt. Kurt's a lawyer, and Kurt's a pretty smart guy. I don't want to fool you. Kurt, what is blockchain used for now every day of the week?
Well, financial transactions and for security.
Crypto, right? So people think that it's not secure. They use
it's also
crypto.
used for that, but the banks are going to start using it for other stuff too.
So what you're proposing is used every day is my point. It's crypto, crypto, crypto. And now, and Herb, you didn't know we had commercials on this show. So I'm going to ask you, interrupt you, do a commercial for yourself, because we asked this at the beginning. Because I'm going to ask, I didn't do it at the beginning, but I'm asking now. Herb, if people want to find you, and for everyone out there, I don't mean go to his house tonight. I mean, go to his website, okay, and donate to you. Obviously, I could see all these people on social media. Thank you very much. We are getting to the comments. How do they find you? We've got you scrolling at the bottom of our screen, but I want to defend everybody. Went to public school and they can't read the scroll at the bottom of the screen. So tell them how to find you and what they can do for your campaign. And then I want to go back to more of what you're saying.
Yeah, so you find me herbmorgan.com, herbmorgan.com. Every social media outlet from TikTok to Facebook to Twitter, you name it, we're there. It's usually Herb for Controller. You can search for Herb Morgan. And believe it or not, we need two things really badly. Number one, expanded social media presence, right? This is a grassroots effort. And if we put out a post or we identify a spending anomaly, we want to put it out there. The more followers I have, the further it goes. If you retweet, repost, relike, thumbs up, all of that stuff, it helps far more than you even know. And the second thing, of course, is treasure, right? We need money to get this message out. We need to travel the state. We need to speak at every event we can possibly speak at. And then we need to push the content digitally out there as well. When you get closer to election time, these guys way jack up the price of the digital push and the advertising because they know you have no choice. And so we need donations. That's herbmorgan.com/donate. By the way, if you go to my website, right next to the donate button, there's a button that says bank account. Click on that. You will see the transactions from my campaign bank account. They're there. I am not making this up. If I'm going to require the NGOs to do it or the UC San Diego to do it, I'm willing to do it too.
And by the way, Herb, as an old computer hacker, because I know more than I think, I did look at your bank account, and I want to thank you for the donation to California Patriot Coalition, known as Rebuild California. I'm kidding, but that's a quick ad for us too. Listen, I also want to add for everybody out there, and I want to go back to what you're explaining, and my job is to boil it down for the public here, is that everyone out there, 500 people. And Herb, I want to correct you slightly, and you're smarter than me when it comes to finance. Let's just assume in publicity, I'm pretty bright. Everyone out there, if you want to help get statewide people elected, you can gather names. We'll send you names. Hit me on our outrage thing after the show, and we'll send you 500 names. Why 500? Because 500 people, you can cut and paste into your Gmail, Outlook, Yahoo, AOL if you're old school, and you can cut and paste it in a blind copy with a message from Herb, and you could send up to 500 a day. Now, before you go, I don't want to send 500 a day. That means you send one email to 500 people, and you can do that every day. Because I'm trying not to be facetious, but Herb, it's really hard for me. But the job he has of watching Where's My Damn Money, which I'd like you to say that's what the office should be entitled. Sorry, you can call it whatever the hell you want, okay? The office of Where's My Damn Money is one of the most important in California. All this other crap, that Newsom does is powered by money that seems to vanish and go to NGO. Gentlemen, I'm doing some more little magic on social media right now. Kurt and Scott, ask Herb some questions, and please try to sound intelligent, because just do your best, guys.
Yeah, thanks a lot. So, what do you think of Governor Newsom and his trying to hide the ball as far as the budget goes? I mean, first of all, we've got fire aid, right? Fire aid, what does he do? For whatever reason, the $100 million that they raised there didn't go to a single fire aid victim. Some evidence shows that it went to his First Partners charity, which is totally unrelated to any kind of fire aid. What can you do as a controller to assure that, hey, there's no false advertising, that the money goes where it's supposed to go? How do we stop this from happening?
I think that's this blockchain transparency idea. What we learned from the Department of Government Efficiency, from the Trump administration's initiative in this regard, was that, in example, USAID was virtually all fraud, virtually all money laundering. And so what we learned is what the business model is of the grifters. So here's the business model. I donate big time to get Mayor Bass's campaign, but it's above the limit, so I do it through a PAC. The PAC spends money on her behalf. She gets elected. Now she gets big blocks of money that she has control over, and she allocates a block of that money to my newly formed nonprofit, which is supposed to help the homeless. Let's say that number is $20 million. I get that $20 million, and then I spend it with other entities, including my husband or wife's business, right? This is all happening, right? This is the business model. And everywhere along the way, everybody takes a piece of the pie. It's not unlike Wall Street, right? Where we all got fee here, fee there, fee for trading, fee for everything, right? And so the model has gotten out of hand. It's gotten so big now, and the steal is so massive that the public is now getting wise to it and is not willing to tolerate it. Doge exposed that at the federal level, but at the federal level, we've had a roughly balanced power over the years. Sometimes it's more Democrats, sometimes it's more Republicans. In California, one party rule, 20 years, no checks, no balances. Nobody ever thought they'd get caught. So by exposing every transaction as it happens, because think about it. If you just gave me one city in California and said, go through their books, and it was just me by myself, I couldn't do it in 3 years. But with AI plus the humans that work in the controller's office, we can analyze the data, find the spending issues, we can prevent a lot of them from happening, and we can also expose the bad actors and refer that to the Attorney General for potential prosecution.
So more help along the monitoring side and exposing.
Monitoring and exposing, shining the light for sure.
We've got a one party state, as we've talked about.
Yep.
There's absolutely no checks and balances. They say they want a check cut to their buddy over there, Sybil Newsom, and they cut it. They don't ask questions, and the media is of course in bed with them, so they don't care to ask those questions. And when we start asking those questions as podcasters, we're labeled as conspiracy theorists, and obviously we don't get as much broadcast. I mean, CNN is not exactly calling up Newsom's office and asking, "Hey, where'd that money go?" We need someone who is going to be independent in the controller's office, which I'm so glad you're running. Tell us your path to victory.
The path to victory. So I'm asking people to give me
more votes.
Yeah, more votes. I'm asking people to give me social media and donate money. But here is the path. First of all, it is the office we usually lose by the least. So if we're going to get something, this would probably be the one with the greatest percentage chance. Still, it is a midterm election. No president on the ballot.
Just ask McClintock, right? I think he ran twice in the last both.
That's right. So it's a midterm election, so there'll be lower turnout. Democrats turn out far lower than Republicans' low turnout in midterms. So we get a little advantage in a midterm. Next, we need to actually have a good message and something that's going to drive people to go, you know what? I want to leave my house and go vote because I think this is important, right? I think this is that message, but I also think the bigger issue is voter ID. We're one of only a handful of states that don't require you to show your ID to vote. I'm almost 60 years old. I still have to show an ID to get a beer, but I don't have to do it to vote, right?
Sure you do, Herb. We're
So, but the point is, if what Carl DeMaio and other Republicans are doing to get voter ID on the ballot, if they can get those 1 million signatures, get that on the ballot, it's going to drive Republican turnout. By the way, if everybody that voted for President Trump in the state of California turned out and voted for Herb, we win. Or 37% of the vote in Los Angeles County. It's over. We win.
I want to add something here, and I'm reposting right now to really boil down to a couple things. And Herb, I know we promised to let you hit her by 7:15. I'm going to pull up a page out of Newsom's book. I might have lied. But anyway, we'll do our best. Today, people that we see, and I'm getting ready to repost this because I got a lot of views this morning. People like Open the Books and all these groups have looked into federal government, and much of what we report on is found at the federal government level. To your point, when we talk about Doge and we talk about these other things, there is, to my knowledge, and please correct me if I'm wrong, nothing at the California level or what I report every day in my Netter News, quick plug, get Netter News, it's free, you have that kind of money. Every day there are counties over and over again with, this guy stole this much, 30,000 here, 50,000 there. There's nothing that I know of in California. Yes, indeed, we're going to do a show on the Three Stooges, but you're blowing my thunder. But thank you very much.
Oh, you don't like that? Okay, just check.
I do like that, but anyway. So Herb, do we have nothing in California where we can really do this now?
Well, the current controller could do all of this. I think
No, let me rephrase that. Not where we could do it, where we are doing it. Do I have anywhere to go, like open the books or anywhere where I could see how much they spent trying to come after Mike Netter, which they did during the recall and came out? Is there anywhere I can go?
not to my knowledge. No.
Okay. So it's democracy in the dark, no matter what news.
Clearly, and this is why I'm trying to make this message appeal to all reasonable people who believe in fairness and honesty. Because you know what, you can be in the other side of the aisle from us and still believe in this transparency mission, right? If we shine the light on the spending and we know where it goes, a lot of the bad stuff just sort of goes away on its own.
And I want to really
I just say
for everybody out there. So I'm faking my stroke. I haven't done one yet. Let me get some water here. Everyone out there to understand, I'm able to do a lot of research that you see in Netter News, that you see in all our feeds that we put out, because I can go today and find that Jennifer Sybil has become Office of the First Partner, which is just weird, but let's put that down for a second. And I could see where monies are donated, how money flows down from the federal government. I cannot see it for California. Now, Herb, I want you to correct me if I'm wrong, but do it nicely because it is my show. Okay? What you're envisioning, and what you have already, when you go to Herb's website, which is Herb for Controller, right?
HerbMorgan.com. HerbMorgan.com.
HerbMorgan.com. Sorry, I got all kinds of stuff scrolling in front of me. HerbMorgan.com. I want to stress what you see, which he's proposing for the whole state. Now, stick with me for a second, because for a guy like me, and you go, oh, that Netter's so smart. No, I'm not. I just know how to get into a lot of portals and poll data. When I want to look at, though, like where Gavin Newsom is getting and spending his election money, if I want to look at somebody like Elaine Kouliakis, which is her, by the way, I'm very happy to have you on our show because your name is Morgan and not Kouliakis, but let's put that down. This makes you a much easier candidate to have on. When I want to look at them, it's very difficult to maneuver your way. I have reporters call me literally from New York Times and other places say, can you help me out? Because I can't maneuver my system. Go on Herb's website, look at his button below the donate button. That's after you donate. I should rephrase that. Okay. And you can see, this isn't Herb's website, by the way. He's on Office of the First Partner. Thanks, Scott. And you can actually see what you're talking about, kind of a mini version where I could click in and kind of see the ledgers, right, on a real-time basis. Is that correct?
That's the plan. Yes, that is correct. That's what we want to do with the state spending and all the agency spending.
And let's keep that up there for 1 second. Scott, bring that visual back for me, brother.
Okay.
So Scott gave Gavin Newsom an F. Herb, what do you think?
I would have to agree. That was an easy one.
Look at that there. And again, for most of you out there, the Office of the First Partner was not created, I don't think, till Gavin came in there. And forget whether it's right, wrong, or indifferent. Look at the kind of money. This is in addition to the money that his wife gets from behested payments we've talked about in other shows, and we don't have major visibility to this. That's a lot of money. Okay, for Gavin Newsom and his wife, and for me and for you, that's a lot of money. And Herb wants to transparency to that process. Take me back to main screen.
So in that instance, those, instead of seeing just the budgeted amount of her office, you would see every transaction in that office. What was it?
And Herb, I'm going to ask you a question. I want you to promise to do this if you're elected, that when you break down that category for Gavin Newsom and his first partner's budget, will you swear to me right now to break down the category for hair gel? Because I'm really curious how much you spend.
I say without abatement, reservation, or exception, we will have a category of spending for hair gel.
Thank you. And before we let you go, that's what I want to hear. Before we let you go, Scott, do you have my goodbye video up?
No.
The Newsom one, train? Okay.
I'll see what I can do.
We'll play that afterwards because we did a good video making fun of the bullet train out there that was done by our in-house band, so to speak. And for everyone out there, and I heard if you get a chance, we'll send it to you later because I know you got to run. We had heard from a lot of people that when Gavin Newsom had cut off federal funding, okay, it was time to say goodbye to the bullet train. And a friend of mine and I came up with a line for our band. It's really hard to say goodbye when the train never left the station. Because indeed, that's exactly when so we'll get that song later. Herb Morgan, do you have any final words?
Just thank you everybody for being a part of this. I think we're going to look back, we're going to look back at a decade, and all public finance everywhere is going to be published live. This is where we start to take back government. It should start in California, the epicenter of technology. We are going to be first. We are going to get it done, and the rest of the country and the world will follow our lead. So thank you for having me.
And remember, and I appreciate the global reference, but I want to be 100% clear right now to everybody. Hold on. We'll let you hear the song before you go. Hit it.
You guys can hear it okay, right?
Close enough. Turn it
You're
up.
on California Free Radio.
All right, they're telling me I got to get going, guys.
All right, Herb. Thank you very much. Take it off there.
Thanks for having me.
Herb, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Herb Morgan for Control.
Thank you, Herb.
Remember, it's your damn money, and Herb's going to tell you what it is. Herb, thank you for coming on tonight.
Take care.
Herb Morgan.
HerbMorgan.com. Check it out, guys. Thanks. I lost Netter there for a second, too.
You can only hope.
He ran away.
It's actually very interesting because that's part of the money machine. And I didn't want to thank her for coming on here, but let's be really clear. We're going to start that song in 1 second here. Go ahead and roll with that there. I want everybody to hear this. I'm going to put this up again on my Twitter feed, but you've got to hear this song because it epitomizes how little we've gotten for so much, because it's really hard to say goodbye when the trains never left the station. Try to feed it in for a second there, buddy.
Can you hear it?
A little bit. Hold on.
Millions gone with no destination, just dust and dreams across the nation. No ribbon cut, no celebration. Hard to say goodbye when the train never left the station. Gavin smiled, made his speeches grand.
There you go.
Said, we've lost command. Trump fans out, they'd had enough. All that cash and still no stuff. Billions spent no vindication, just more delays and obfuscation. No steam, no speed, just stagnation. Hard to say goodbye when the train never left the station.
All right, Scott, let's take that down. We're having a bit of a challenge with it here.
Empty fields where tracks
Okay.
Got to work on musical feet here. Everybody out there, I'll put that song up again tomorrow. But again, that's by an unknown band. We challenge you to guess who they are. It's hard to say goodbye when the train never left the station, which is part of the problem with California. And Kurt and Scott weigh in on this a little bit here, because we understand right now about the shiny object is facing us is that we have too many congressional seats because we have so many illegal aliens in California, but it also becomes a really big vehicle for spending money on them, where, to Herb's point, NGOs take a chunk out of it. Weigh on that for a second, gentlemen, while I fix something.
So it's almost like, where do you start? Look at all the fraud and the waste that Gavin Newsom's been part of in his tenure there. Fire aid is just one of those things, right, Kurt? Where $100 million raised and not a dime went to any of the fire victims. What else, Kurt?
Well, the fiscal things are kind of the theme of the program so far, but there's something else we need to really highlight for Californians that's very dangerous. The Democrats want to allow strangers to steal our children. AB 495, Scott, allows someone to file an affidavit and take your kid out of school. What's with that?
It's nothing more than to be generous. It's just grooming, but it also.
Hold on, I'm coming back on 1 second while I leave my technical problem hanging. AB 495 is the most evil bill since Satan separated from heaven. And you are also going to find on my feed again a way where you could automatically write letters about it. Do you know how bad that is, Kurt? How hot an issue you've hit? Jack Hibbs, God bless Jack Hibbs, to his 10,000 people in Calvary Chapel.
Yeah. Calvary Chapel
said that if this passes, take your children and immediately move out of California. Back to you.
Well, fortunately, Brad Dacus of the Pacific Justice Institute is working on this. So what my suggestion would be is there's fundamental Supreme Court rights about parental rights that are federal rights. So this attempt to let strangers steal your kids so they can castrate them or sell them into sex slavery and human trafficking, is going to cause violence, Scott. There are a lot of parents where if somebody tries to sign their little girl out to steal the little girl, they're going to shoot the guy. And all the laws in the world won't stop the violence that the state of California would deserve if they're letting people kidnap other people's children for human trafficking. That's what this is about. This is about letting people steal people's children.
Let me also
that's going to be a problem.
Right. Bring up something else relating back to money here. HerbMorgan.com brought up earlier tonight that the more children that are in the foster system, because they can steal your kids from it, the more they can take government money that we don't know where it's going.
I've got 30 tips that are going to help make you better.
Is that you?
Yeah.
Or am I having a stroke? Am I having the real one?
Yeah, but it's not a bad stroke.
Okay. I thought CNN might be blurring in here. Remember, the more that Scott Wiener and Gavin Newsom can expand this pool of people that are government dependent, since Herb's going to help us track the money, and still he does. You get where I'm going with this, Kurt? That's more and more money that they can, quote, launder, the more kids they can steal. It literally is almost like they're going to get paid to kidnap children.
Well, but in this case, you've got it flies in the face of federal law. So I'm hoping that Bill Asali will send a letter to the state legislature and Gavin Newsom indicating that he will treat this as a federal racketeering conspiracy to kidnap children and traffic them, and will arrest everyone in California.
And for those people
in fact, if I was President Trump, I would threaten to declare martial law in California. Then he can start hanging people if necessary. But if you're going to start stealing people's children, you don't have a society. What you have is a war.
So just so everybody knows, SB 495 basically says that if you sign an affidavit that says I'm in charge of your kid, You can go to the local school where your kid's at. You can present that to them, and they will give him or her your kid without talking to you first. You don't even know this guy.
Well, again, I think that the feds should threaten every school with prosecution as part of a conspiracy for human trafficking. I think that will prevent the school officials from doing that, because they're going to get arrested, and arresting is the least of their worries. If a school administrator says, "Yeah, I let somebody sign your kid out," they don't have a very long life expectancy in potentially.
Well, yeah, parents will say,
whatever the law is, better to be judged by 12.
Okay, so what is the evil behind this bill? What is the purpose of this bill? It's to take your kids out and allow them to have sex changes because you right-wingers won't let your kid change genders. I mean, that's the bottom line. This Scott.
Well, I think that's
that are promoting it.
That's only one thing. They also want to make it easier for people to traffic your kids.
They're going to kidnap your kid.
And we can speculate the reasons why.
Oh,
maybe they're profiting from it.
But what?
Maybe they hate us that much.
What's going to
Hold on. I want to stop for 1 second to kind of wrap up what you two guys are saying so we can go on to the next story. And this is why having Herb on tonight was kind of important. Be it illegal aliens, be it crime, be it human trafficking, California government, through NGOs and through various other means, is able to up the budget and launder more money. Let's cut through a little bit of the garbage here. Scott and Kurt, love you guys, love our audience out there, but let me be perfectly clear. I don't even know that Scott Wiener really believes that Sally should be Sam and Johnny should be Jane and vice versa. Let's assume for a tiny fraction of me might believe it. But Scott Wiener wears suits when he goes to the legislature, and he's backed by large amounts of commercial real estate money. The reality is, these bills that they come up with, and yes, Scott, indeed, they have social issues behind them, but it's about the damn money. Another way to look at it, I heard a great quote the other day going to the congressional districts. Scott, is the white light coming for you or something?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure you're like, oh, I've heard angels singing. This was Scott's last show. We've enjoyed having it.
Yeah, right.
What Newsom is really doing for $200 million, he's buying 5 congressional seats. And since the average, there you go. The average thing, if you will, or average election costs 50 or 100 million for a congressional seat, he's basically trying to buy them on the cheap using our money to do it. And by the way, I think retard of the decade would be more in line with them, but I'll take retard of the month. Scott and Kurt, go on to the next story there.
What you got, Kurt?
All right. Did you hear that at a Major League Soccer game, you guys are sports fans, some guy was wearing a MAGA hat, and they removed him from the stadium.
Soccer's not a sport.
I agree with you.
Go ahead.
But they still removed him from a stadium that was probably subsidized by taxpayer money.
Who?
A guy wearing a MAGA hat.
Yeah, the guy wearing a MAGA hat. So if I'm him, I'm suing all the individuals who removed me, the team. If it's a city-owned stadium, the city, all in federal court. And I got my hand out, and I want millions of dollars from all of them.
Well, yeah, it's all based on free speech, and it's in a public facility, like you said, probably paid for and subsidized by the public. All right, what's the next story?
Hey, wait out. I want to give a shout out. Looks like Orrin Heatley's watching us tonight. So a shout out to the leader of the pack, if you will, Orrin Heatley. Back to you, Kurt.
All right. Well, we've talked a lot about the continuing Democrat crime wave. Turns out some guy got fed up and caught somebody stealing his mail in Studio City, right near the Hollywood Bowl. And he started pepper spraying the guy, and there's video online. It's pretty funny. But not so funny is when the police found military ordinances under a freeway in Los Angeles. Scott, what's with that?
Military ordnance? Really?
Bombs, Scott. Yeah,
Things
bombs.
that go boom in the middle of the night, which aren't supposed to, which were live, by the way. This wasn't left over from World War II. And also, by the way, Kurt, that video you're talking about, you like stealing mail? Huh? You like stealing mail? And the guy goes, yeah, until the guy pulls out his pepper spray and starts spraying him down.
It was
then
awesome. A little
Yes.
frontier justice.
We're going to be
So
seeing
then
it, by
less
the
than a
way.
day after
Let's all talk about
less
Kurt,
than a
tell us-
day after 1,000 National Guard troops were withdrawn from Los Angeles, thousands of people took the streets to block the roadways for a left-wing temper tantrum.
Yeah, and Karen Bass called out LAPD, right? She just basically let them.
Not exactly,
They let
Scott.
them own the streets, right? Yes, I'm sure that's the case. Karen Bass.
And now you got some clowns saying that. And now you got some clowns saying that the ICE raids that got rid of illegal aliens in Los Angeles have ruined the Los Angeles economy, and this lib wants the federal government to reimburse Los Angeles for their economic losses from their crime and their cover up of all these illegal aliens here.
Kurt, let me ask you a question. What do you think the odds are that next show I'm going to be 6'4" and be able to hit a ball 400 feet?
Not in your favor.
No and no.
Right. So those are the same odds of the federal government reimbursing this idiot. Oh, I like
that's
that.
also
poster.
true, but
You like that one?
the hubris of asking is
Shoot me that one. I want to put that on
incredible.
my feet.
Well, we talked about incompetence in government with our guest Herb, and we've got a couple of stories. The city of Orange in Orange County is at the risk of filing for bankruptcy because of their incompetent financial management. Wow, it's California. Who knew?
Who would have figured that out?
Yeah, shocking.
And by the way, I want to add something interesting we never got to with Herb. Most people don't know. Cities and counties can declare bankruptcies. States cannot. So let's be really clear on this. Not knowing where our money's going. Leave that picture of Gavin up if you could, Scott.
All right.
That picture of Gavin you see, which is him leaving office in a couple years, if the state of California runs out of money, a state cannot declare bankruptcy. So that means when they don't have money to pay their bills, they're still liable for that 300 and some odd billion a year they committed to spending.
Right.
But workers,
It's an excuse to raise taxes, isn't it, Mike?
right? But those workers and those vendors which depend on it will get IOUs till the state figures it out. So where our city of Orange can declare,
I think they could sue the bondholders. The bondholders could sue and try to foreclose on state property, I think.
well, no, it's a whole separate thing. But this has happened before under Gray Davis. They issued IOUs. Yes, indeed. There we are. Are you referring to us?
Well, yeah.
With the three
But no,
schools?
I was thinking of Gavin Newsom and
No, the
By
government.
the way, hold that shot for a second. What you're seeing, by the way, is inside stuff with the Three Stooges. This is a typical production meeting with Scott and Kurt trying to keep me quiet.
it still didn't work.
No. Go to your next story there.
All
Kurt.
right, here's one. Mike, this is really important. Adam Schiff, former congressman, now U.S. Senator, embarrassingly from California, is under federal criminal investigation for alleged mortgage fraud. He filed a mortgage application in California claiming he was a California resident, and in Maryland near D.C. claiming he was a Maryland resident. And as you know, you can't run for Congress or Senate in California if you're a Maryland resident.
Well, interestingly enough, what he's being charged with, and we had Chris Fisher on our show about 6 weeks ago, the investigator who broke a lot of that story. And by the way, and I put a note out this week, what he's being charged with is lying on his loan papers. So I've said this before, and I want to be perfectly clear again. Don't do that. If you think lying on a simple sheet of paper, it's a federal crime, and Schiff claimed his Maryland residence as his primary residence. But let me throw the really sad part as to what a piece of shit this guy is. So not only is Schiff going to be charged with this, so is his wife Eve. So, to quote the Bible, Adam, try to save Eve and at least show some guts and decency and take the rap for it. Okay? And there you go.
Eve brought Adam down in Genesis, Mike.
Well, in this case, let's put it this way. The worm in the apple would have come out looking like Adam Schiff. And so there you go. And that's a great meme for anybody out there. If indeed you can do an apple with a worm with Adam Schiff's head on the face of the worm, we'll give you something, and we're not sure what that is. Hit me with a couple more stories, and then I want to do a wrap.
So, Mike, how about some good news? You ready for some good news?
Yeah, I am.
The conservative New York Post, one of the oldest newspapers in the United States, is expanding to have a California edition planned for early 2026.
Yep. We have that in Netter News today.
That means we're going to have conservative coverage of California, not just our show.
I think more importantly, and I want to say this, as important as conservative coverage, and this isn't even against the New York Times. I know people at the New York Times. I know people at the LA Times. I know people at the Post. The good news about the Post coming out there, and this, by the way, I want to spend 1 second on this here to understand. You need opposing papers. You need opposing parties. The LA Times, regardless of what you think of him, hold on. That's what I think of them. But not only because of what they write or don't write, they have a horrible, horrible business model. They literally have about 500,000 digital subscribers, where the New York Times has about 8 million. And the New York Post coming out here, and yes, they're conservative, rah, rah, sis, boom, bah, but they're also rather fair and is going to make a good battlefield with the New York Times, as the LA Times probably fades into something that we commonly call history because their business model has not sustainable. Ooh, I like that. Send me that picture too. Are you making these up as you go?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, Kurt, hit me with another story.
All right, now, Mike, you like to party in your younger days, so it turns out that our California employees like parties too.
Oh, I saw this.
Caltrans had a party, and somebody's birthday or whatever, and they had strippers and lots of alcohol, and they all got trashed, and some idiot videotaped it. And so now Caltrans has suspended 12 workers for this party that they had during work hours.
And do you want to know something, Kurt? What my biggest disappointment is that, in the spite of the fact
They
that
didn't
our
invite
roads
you,
are
Mike.
exactly. I mean, come on, guys. If you're not going to fix our roads, if you're going to take 20 years to build a bridge, if indeed the potholes in the street are deeper than Lake Tahoe, at least invite us to your stripper and booze party. I think if you're going to do it on my time with my tax dollars, I at least ought to get a come.
All right, Mike, we've got a sad San Diego story, and you're a San Diego guy, so tell us what's going on here. The city of San Diego approved a toxic battery storage facility right near homes, including our guest a few weeks ago, Amy Kramer's home, without public input, just a backroom deal during the China virus lockdowns. What's with that, Mike?
I'll tell you what's with that, and that's Amy Reichert, I believe you're referring to there. But and by the way, follow her on X. She's dynamite. Here's what happens, and this is the part that's not thought through very well. Let's all go to electric cars. I want to speak with a little bit of an engineering background. Oh, look, it's the Star Wars model. I feel like I'm poster shopping at a horror movie store.
Yeah.
Here's the reality for all
Look
the
at
people.
brains. That's the way it is.
Yes, let's go with clean energy. Here's what you don't think of, and I'm going to speak a little bit from an engineering point of view. When your airplanes fly, when your car drives, and you use liquid fuel, indeed that burns off, Kurt, and becomes sometimes a little bit of pollution that dissipates. Fair enough, but that energy goes away immediately. When you use electricity and store it in batteries, welcome to Einstein's theory here, those batteries don't dissipate. They hold the same weight and eventually, over time, become corroded. This is a basic lesson for all the screaming climate change people out there are going to solve the world with batteries. No, you're delaying the inevitable to a slow death. Kurt, here's the problem, and I want to give due deference to the people that voted us in. Apparently, they never had real science, because when you store a bunch of batteries and the batteries over a period of time leak, it leads to bad things. So I think we ought to make every member of the San Diego City Council and board that approved this simply take a science class, or at least watch, Professor Nye or something for a little bit of time so they get basic one. Back to you, Kurt. We got time for 2 more stories. Hit me.
All right. As our audience who's been with us for a long time knows, I went to the University of Southern California, and I don't like UCLA, and neither does the Trump administration, because they've frozen hundreds of millions of dollars over civil rights violations at UCLA.
Yes, indeed, they did. And in addition, UCLA, I also believe, is paying out an undisclosed amount of money to Jewish students because they were blocked from coming to class because people, many not from campus, were crying, free Palestine, and we're not going to show you our faces. Hey, you're wearing a hood. Do you work for ICE? No, I'm a protester, but it's okay. So that was kind of their theory there. And I believe they're also handing out a large amount of money to students. And you know the sad part about that, Kurt? We don't know how much money it is, even though it's our money, because they won't tell us how much that is. Well, there you go.
Freedom of Information Act.
It doesn't matter because they just say, we don't know how much it is, to what Herb was bringing up. You can file all the FAIs you want. The problem is they quote, the dog ate my homework, the term for we don't know. Kurt, give me one more story and we're going to wrap it up tonight.
All right. Let's see.
Not that one.
Let's see. We want to see Mike. All right. So turns out that, shockingly, public school enrollment in California is declining. Why? Because they suck. Public schools suck. Parents and grandparents, they're propagandizing your kids. They're trying to castrate them. Get your kids out of public schools. What I'm hoping is that the federal government will have a national voucher legislation that Trump will sign, and we can get rid of public schools. Give every parent a voucher and let them shop. Americans are really good at shopping, Mike and Scott.
Indeed, and by the way, that's why we had Kevin McNamee on a few weeks ago, about a month and a half ago, stressing the CEO Act we're going to put before the people of California. Not that Gavin cares, he'll try to override us, but it's time we got that done. Kurt and Scott, give me your closing words.
Now, Mike, can you explain that to our audience? Can you explain
the CEO Act is an initiative for school choice that we're going to put on the ballot in October, or not put on the ballot, but start gathering signatures. It will give you, regardless of rank, file, economic standing, to send your kids, take the $15,000 a year, which you don't know where your money went when it goes to the school system, and be able to spend it to send your kid to the school where you want to. And we're going to be talking a lot more about that. Voter ID and what Howard Jarvis is doing are the 3 most important things that will help a guy like Herb Morgan get elected. Kurt, give me your closing blast, and then be like the chicken, shut the bleep up so we can get off the air. Tell me.
I think it's really important that Trump ordered the Commerce Department to redo the census, not counting illegal aliens. We could gain 20, 30, or even 40 congressional seats in the 2026 elections. And that will help us with the state legislative seats, too. It'll be harder to gerrymander Republicans out of the state legislature.
The times here are changing. Kurt, thank you. You're 100% right. Give me a blast. Scott, give me a blast.
Hey, we
on
really
50
didn't even have a chance to get into the whole redistricting scheme, but it kind of goes what Kurt was saying with the census, the miscalculations. I guess they don't have an adding machine that works there or a spreadsheet, and they screwed up and cheated red states out of 5 seats. Texas is trying to redistrict, and they're trying to add 5 more red seats, taken away from blue seats. And so all these blue states like Michigan and Massachusetts started screaming, well, we'll do the same thing. But there's not a single Republican congressman from Massachusetts. So what are they going to do? So Gavin's out there.
We're gonna that's a whole show into itself. Next week we're gonna have somebody talking about fire stuff. I'm really interested in seeing what happens in the legislature next week.
Exactly. So
Again, we may even do a special show on this. I've been talking to reporters and various other dignitaries all day. This is a very deep and complex subject. And when Gavin Newsom says transparent, well, he doesn't mean transparent. And I think that's a really good way to end our show tonight.
I love
Everyone out there, you cannot believe your government generally. Donald Trump does something or says something, and he does it. Pretty unusual for a politician. The people of California say something, and Gavin Newsom tries to do the opposite. Gavin Newsom lies. State is not transparent when it comes to financing, redistricting, what they're doing with kids, 100 million different things. But here's what is transparent. What we are going to do every single damn week on California Free Radio. Because it's up to you out there along with us for the voice of the people to ring loud and ring clear. Because if we do not take back our state, if we do not go out there every day, whether it be on social media, email, the people you're talking to at the store, and yell, it's my damn state, it's my money, and I want to know what's going on, and I plan on taking it back for one party rule, you will lose what you have in this beautiful state of California. And myself, Scott, and Kurt are not going to let that happen. California Free Radio, we will be back next Thursday. Thank you. We had a record attendance tonight, as I could tell.